Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching fourth part of What If Naruto Found Hidden Lab in Waves. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Wave Country, Mayuri's Bunker, July 19th, 4:26 p.m. As Naruto entered the laboratory, he noticed the children walking around looking at the test tubes and other lab equipment, as none of the children were about to touch anything they shouldn't. "Put your hands in your pockets, don't touch the equipment," he stated emphatically, and one of the girls raised her hand. She makes a wave. "Because I'm wearing a skirt, I don't have pockets." With a big smile on her face, she said and put her hands behind her back. Naruto gives her a blank expression. "Stop being a smarty pants." She simply widens her smile. "I can't be a smarty pants because, as I previously stated, I'm wearing a skirt." Naruto lowers his gaze to the ground. "I can already tell you're going to be a pain." The children all laughed. The Mindscape of Naruto. Kushina was laughing so hard that she couldn't speak. He had to have one of those girls. That girl is going to be a pain in his ass, but you know what they say about karma being a bitch, and with all the trouble he caused growing up, this is karma coming back to kick him in the ass. Once I'm out of here, I'll teach my granddaughters how to manipulate all the boys into doing whatever they want, but I'll also make sure they're strong, bring honor to the Kunoichi name, and live up to the standards of Uzumaki clan women. Minato, who was standing in front of the cage, looked at her. "Are you even paying attention to me?" She almost yells her question. Minato casts a glance behind him. "Didn't you say anything?" he inquires innocently. Kushina yells angrily. "You haven't pulled a Kakashi on me," she exclaimed loudly and moved toward him. Minato turns as white as a sheet as he realizes what he inadvertently did and how it appeared to Kushina. He put his hands up as he tried to calm down his wife and explain it was an accident. He just hoped she believed him, because they were spirits and any physical damage was literally just in their minds didn't mean it didn't hurt like they were alive. Along with Naruto. Naruto drew his arms across his chest. "I guess you don't want dessert tonight if that's how you're going to be." The girl gave him a terrified look. "Please, no. I promise I'll be good." "Okay. Then come with me to where you'll be sleeping for the next month." "Is everyone prepared for a camping trip?" Naruto saw all the kids nod and led them into training room 2, which had been transformed into a forest. "Okay. Set up your tents, boys on the right, girls on the left. And just so you know, there's a bathroom down the hall. While I'm away, Hanabi, you're in charge." "Hey, why does she get to be in charge when I can't?" a boy inquired, and more children voiced their desire to be in charge. "That's all there is to it. I've made my decision, and you're going to follow Hanabi." "Did I make myself clear?" Naruto stated emphatically, and the children all responded positively. "Good, don't go exploring until I give you permission. I don't want you to get lost." He then exited. As he walks down the corridor towards the medical wing, he hears his mother say that they're an interesting bunch. "I know they're going to give me gray hair before I'm even 15. He imagined himself with mostly gray hair. The only response he received was the sound of his mother laughing. Recovery room, 4:32 p.m. Naruto comes to a halt at the door, knocks, and waits for permission to enter. Naruto pushes the door open and walks in to see 2 long lines of beds on each side of the room and a woman he recognizes from his clone's memories standing next to Hinata's bed. He walks quickly over to the bed and extends his hand. "You must be Retsu Unohana. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Could you please update me on her condition?" Unohana accepts his handshake but refuses to release it. She smiles at him with a motherly grin. It's nice to meet you as well, Uzumaki-san, but before I give you an update on her recovery, I have a question for you. Her face darkens and becomes frightening. I hope you make sure that whoever did this to this poor girl was properly punished, because if you haven't, I can easily put you in a bed right next to her. Naruto appears to be talking to the Shinigami himself for a long time before regaining his composure. My first priority was to remove Hinata and her younger sister from the people who had done this to her. I had them legally removed from their family and placed her under the protection of my clan. Now that they're safe, I promise you that I'll personally make them pay for what they did in some way. Naruto said, then his face turned stone for a moment. And Naruto Uzumaki never fails to keep a promise. He said this with a stone-faced expression, staring into her eyes. Yuno Hana smiled once more. That's helpful to know, and I'll hold you to it. Just make sure they don't hurt her again, or I'll have to get involved personally. She said it with a smile. Naruto thought her grin was even scarier than her first expression, which said a lot because this was not a woman to mess with. Ever. Hinata's condition was that she had severe damage to her heart and lungs, as well as a serious concussion with swelling on her brain, none of which had been treated when she was brought to me, and if she had been left there, she would have died within 3 days, so it's fortunate that you were able to get her to me when you did. I've done everything I can for the time being, but she should be fully recovered in a couple weeks if nothing else happens and she doesn't strain herself. I'm also confining her to her bed for the first week. According to Yuno Hana. Naruto gave a nod. That's useful to know. When should she get up? Yuno Hana grinned. You genuinely care about her. She's one of my few friends. I'll do everything in my power to keep her safe. Naruto responded. Yuno Hana gave a nod. I gave her a sedative to keep her asleep while she heals, so she should be awake in a couple days. Please let me know if there is anything else I can do for you. I'll also need a copy of her medical records and information about what you've done to her. Naruto said, and she nodded, before thanking her and walking toward the door. Once in the hallway, he closes the door and punches the wall with a loud thud of flesh on stone. Hiyashi Hyuga, your shinobi days are numbered. And if you ever insult Hinata in my presence again, I'll end you as a man as well. As he returned to the main laboratory, he peered into training room 2 and saw the younger kids running around the forest, and the older kids setting up the tents, with Hanabi standing off to the side barking orders, when one of the kids threw a handful of mud at Hanabi, hitting her in the face. Hanabi, who knows when to be strict and when to have fun, suppresses his laughter as a mud fight begins and shuts the door. Main laboratory, 4:38 p.m. Naruto enters quietly and comes to a halt. Nemu is tidying up the lab with her back to him. Naruto smiles as he tiptoes up behind her and pokes her in the sides with both hands. She spins around and punches him in the chest, sending him flying across the lab and into the wall, where he slides down the wall to his buttocks with a groan of pain. Nemu rushes over to him, apologizing repeatedly. Naruto gradually finds his feet. It's all right, it was my fault. I'm glad you're here. I wanted to take you to see Tazuna so we could give him an update on the academy. Could you please gather any papers the teachers had on today's progress and meet me outside? Nemu gives a nod. I'll be waiting outside when you're ready to go. She then exited. Naruto groans as she walks away. I must remember not to sneak up on her any longer. Mayuri smiles. I did turn her into a combat unit. Naruto walked down the halls, ignoring him as he left the room. He notices students walking down the hall. A group of girls are reading makeup and fashion magazines, and their conversation is about which outfit they should wear to impress the boy they like. Naruto frowns a little. Perhaps I should make a dress code for the academy. It'd solve a lot of normal girl problems, he reasoned. The Wave Village. They walk up to the desk and ask the woman sitting there where Tizuna's office is. She smiles and cheerfully tells Naruto. They easily find it, and Naruto knocks. He smiles at the almost annoyed, "Come in," opens the door, and finds him working at a desk covered in stacks of various sizes of paperwork. Tizuna raises her head and smiles. "What can I do for you, Naruto? And who is your lovely friend?" "Hello, my name is Nemu, and I hope I'm not interrupting anything." Tizuna simply shakes his head. Naruto settles into his chair in front of his desk. "I've come to give you an update on the academy." Tizuna tosses his paperwork to the side. "That's fine. I was planning on asking you tonight at dinner. I know the academy has only been open for a few days, but so far everything is going well, and the students appear to be having a good time. I've made some changes to the rules to make your academy far superior to the others. To pass the academy, you usually only need to use 3 basic jutsu and pass a written test." He then opened the file and took a piece of paper from it. "If you accept them, these will be the new requirements for passing the graduation test." He passed the paper to Tizuna, who began reading. Wave Academy Guidelines. Academy begins at the age of 6 and ends at the age of 12. Students can continue for 4 more years, up to the age of 16, for advanced promotion. To graduate, all students must complete the following curriculum. Note: if a person can access their chakra but cannot shape it due to medical reasons, alternative techniques or solutions may be used. Requirement to graduate academy as basic student. Must successfully perform the 3 basic jutsu. 1. Bunshin no Jutsu, Clone Jutsu. 2. Kawarimi no Jutsu, Body Replacement. 3. Henge no Jutsu, Transformation Jutsu. Academy students must know at least 3 different C-rank elemental jutsu. Academy students must know the following chakra control techniques. 1. Leaf spinning exercise for 1 hour without stopping. 2. Kanai balancing technique for 2 hours without stopping. 3. Tree climbing technique, able to do it at will without thinking. 4. Water walking technique, able to do it at will without thinking. Students must know basic first aid. Able to set bones and stitch, bandage wounds. Students must be able to run 5 hours without stopping. Students must be able to use level 3 Fuinjutsu. Make explosive tags, storage seals and basic barrier seals. Students must pass a psychological examination. Students must watch at least 1 execution. Students must be able to identify and break C-rank genjutsu. Students must be able to cook and clean both fish and common meats like rabbit, deer, etc. Students must be able to do D-rank interrogations in the field. Requirement to graduate academy as advanced student. Allowed to take missions up to C rank as chosen by sensei and approved by the academy. Squads must successfully complete at least 50 DC rank missions under a senior officer. Student must successfully lead at least 30 additional missions to completion under a senior officer. But the senior officer will not assist. Must be able to spar for at least 4 hours without stopping. Must have at least 1 kill during battle. Must be able to identify and break B-rank genjutsu. Must be able to do C-rank interrogations in the field. New ranking system. Academy student. Officer, advanced student, genin. Senior officer, chunin, can lead a squad of officers. Seated officer, special jonin, can lead up to 2 officer squads. Lieutenant, jonin, can lead up to 4 squads of any officer ranks. Each senior, seated officer can still command an officer squad. Captain, elite jonin, can lead up to 6 squads of any lower rank. Each senior, seated officer can still command an officer squad. Commander, Hokage. Tizuna placed the paper on his desk and stroked his beard. I'm not familiar with your ninja system, but I must say that I like the way you've set it up, but I do have a question for you about these new ranks. I was under the impression that these were Genin, Chunin, Special Jonin, and Jonin. You're correct, but since this is a new style of ninja village, I wanted to give you new ranks. Normally, the village is divided into different categories, with various ninjas going into those areas after they graduate, but at this academy, the students will be able to choose which field they want to go into and receive specialized training in that field. I'm going to set it up so that there are 13 different divisions, and each of these divisions will be further subdivided. Naruto takes the second piece of paper from the folder. These are the 13 divisions and their functions. Naruto hands him the piece of paper. The 13 divisions. Division 1. Teachers, also in charge of doing paperwork from most of the divisions and police force for the village, and taking messages division to division. Commanded by Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto. Division 2. Stealth Force, village version of Anbu. Commanded by Sua Not Fung. Division 3. Scouting and Recon, will also be Border Patrol. Commanded by Division 4. Medical. Commanded by Retsu Yunohana. Division 5. Supplies Trading, in charge of buying supplies for the village and ensuring they get where they're needed. Commanded by Division 6. Crypto Analysis, in charge of securing alliances and working as diplomats. Commanded by Byakuya Kuchiki. Division 7. Heavy Assault. Commanded by Sajin Komamura. Division 8. Support, works with each division, does humanitarian relief. Commanded by Shunsui Kyoraku. Division 9. Fuinjutsu. Commanded by Division 10. Intelligence, Torture and Interrogation, commanded by Toshiro Hitsugaya. Division 11. Eradication Squad, in charge of making bad people and places disappear. Commanded by Kenpachi Zaraki. Division 12. R&D. Commanded by Mayuri Kuratsuchi. Division 13. Tracking, Bounty Hunting, mostly works with Division 2. Commanded by Jashiro Yukatak. End paper. Tizuna places this paper first. I like how you've organized everything for my village, but I have one question. Why don't these 3 divisions have a commander? Those positions have yet to be filled because the previous commanders were traitors. I simply need to speak with a few people first. Naruto stated. Naruto, thank you for everything you've done for my country. If there's anything else you need, just ask. Tizuna stated. Naruto beams. I'm just helping a friend, but I'll take that into account. He gives Tizuna the rest of the student reports, and as he finishes the report, Naruto recalls the girls he saw in the hallway. By the way, I wanted to discuss with you the possibility of establishing a dress code for the academy. It should keep the girls from worrying about fashion and dressing to impress boys. It also means you won't have many fangirls, though a few are unavoidable. Remember Sakura Haruno if you want to know what fangirls look like. Tizuna agreed to the dress code the moment he mentioned her name. Naruto changed the subject after discussing the academy and ironing out most of the details. How are the village trade agreements going? Everything was going swimmingly until we had a problem with one of our trade routes between here and Sea Country. Look at all the paperwork. All the ships are being attacked by some sort of sea monster. Tizuna takes a sheet from the closet and hands it to Naruto. One of the survivors took a photo of it, but it's not very good. He pulls out a photograph of a humanoid figure that can just be seen swimming in the water near the ship. Naruto examines the image, report, and receives feedback from his parents, who are seasoned shinobi. If you'd like, I can send a team of teachers out to investigate this. they will be able to stop whatever is attacking the ship. Tizuna nods, then laughs as he reaches for a bottle of sake in his desk. I'm hoping you won't reveal my secret stash to my daughter. Naruto grinned and shook his head. Good. I adore my daughter, but she can be a real pain in the backside at times. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm looking at my daughter or my wife. God have mercy on her soul. Naruto chuckles. She does appear to smother those she cares about, doesn't she? Take Fu, she's all about treating her as if she's a daughter, but I'm glad Fu has someone to teach her. Tizuna agrees with a nod. Just for the record. Naruto indicates the bottle of sake. I know what her problem is, she's too tense, as one of my friends would say. He imagines Anko during one of her life lessons, as she refers to them. She needs to get laid, and if it weren't for everything else, I'd do it, and we both know no one would object. Tizuna's eyes widened and his jaw relaxed. He composed himself after about a minute. He tried to say something but couldn't, so he just nodded. Wait, was there anything else? Leaving that mental image aside, he said he couldn't deny Naruto was correct, and he'd be honored to have Naruto as a member of his family in some way, as would Inari. Naruto smiled, knowing from Tizuna's expression that he wouldn't tell anyone, and Nemu wouldn't either, and knew she was blushing without even looking. He took a look around the office. So this is where that little jerk was running his show, huh? Inari said you found a lot of stuff in here that you used to help your village get back on its feet. Tizuna sighed, relieved that he was no longer on the hook. He noticed Nemu blush briefly but said nothing else, indicating Naruto's complete trust in her. Yes, there were many items around this building that we were able to sell to help us get back on our feet. However, we were unable to locate his safe. He must have it somewhere else hidden. Excuse me, Tizuna-san, did you examine that wall? Nemu said this while pointing to the right wall. Both of them looked at the wall where she pointed and saw nothing but a blank wall. Naruto fixed his gaze on her. What are you on about, Nemu? Nemu looked at Naruto, genuinely perplexed, and it was clear to her. The slight discoloration on the wall indicates that it is fake, and if you look closely, you can see a seam that indicates the wall is fake. When we return, I'll teach you how to look for these items, Naruto-san. Naruto nodded and turned to Tizuna, who motioned for him to check. Nemu-chan, can you open it? Naruto inquired, and she smiled and nodded before walking up to the wall and punching right through it in the metal door hidden behind it, then ripping it right off the hinges, revealing a room piled high with money, weapons, and other artifacts. Tizuna drops the bottle of sake when he sees this. Naruto smiles as he stands up. Well, I have things to do, and it appears that you'll be busy for a while going through all of that. He then told Tizuna to do it. He overheard Tizuna telling his secretary to go get help as he walked down the hall. Sure, he could empty and sort it in no time, but Tizuna would miss out on all the fun. 6:05 p.m., Wave Academy, previously Mayuri's bunker. Naruto looks at Nemu as they make their way back to the base. Please gather everyone in the conference room for a critical meeting. Of course, Naruto-kun. Nemu responded, nodded, and then went to gather everyone. Naruto enters the conference room, takes the first seat, and waits. Everyone is in and seated within 2 minutes. First, I read your class reports and would like to hear your thoughts. Everyone has an opinion about how the classes are run and asks if they can make some changes, which Naruto agrees to as long as they don't overwork the students. Second in line. We have a mission, so I'm dispatching a few of you to complete it. Ships have been attacked by some sort of sea creature and we need to figure out what's going on, so I'm sending Rukia, Jashiro, and Shunsui because your Zanpakuto is wind and ice, which should give you an advantage. Naruto hands them a piece of paper. I'd take a week to get there if I didn't use the portable door. Investigate what's going on and put an end to it. If you can capture whatever is causing this, please do so. If the monster is being controlled, please also capture the person controlling it. They nod and exit the room. Naruto asks if anyone has any comments, suggestions, or anything else to discuss, and when no one responds, he dismisses them for the night. Naruto returns to the main laboratory, sits down, and rubs his chin. This is not how I planned to spend my day, he mutters to himself before turning to face Yoruichi, who is carrying a gourd. The mission has been completed. Naruto-kun, I have to say that village's security was the worst I've ever seen. As she placed the gourd on the table, she approached Naruto and kissed him on the cheek. Naruto flushed a little. Hello, and welcome back. So, aside from the village's lack of security, did you have any issues? No, it was fairly simple once I knew where to go. Yoruichi explained. That's fine. Why don't you take the rest of the night off, and we'll resume training tomorrow? Naruto stated. Yoruichi smiled. Well, I worked up a sweat, so I'm going to take a shower. She leaned in, her arms around his shoulders. I could use an extra set of hands, so why don't you come join me? You can wash my back, and I'll show you what a good wife I'll be. She murmured seductively in his ear. Naruto passes out before she could release him. Much to her delight. When Naruto returns, he notices that Yoruichi has left. That woman is going to kill me. Maybe I should go back to how I was before I changed, at least then I wouldn't have to worry about all the girls flirting with me. Then he heard his mother's voice. Not going to happen, Naruto. Now that all the women are aware of this side of you, it will never stop, even if you try to go back and forth. He almost tears up and places his head on the table. Again, Anko's lessons come to mind. Eventually, he'll have to put up or shut up, and the second option will not work in this case. Being popular is so overrated that I'd rather be despised. He murmurs. Naruto looks left after he finishes feeling sorry for himself to see Mayuri on the main screen. Do you require anything? There is Naruto, it appears we received a message from Soifun. Mayuri stated. What do you mean she left us a message? She sent me a message through a hell butterfly, which is a form of communication, while you were gone. Mayuri responded. What's the message? Naruto asked, nodding. It appears that one of the targets she captured provided her with some information. According to what she learned, she came across a black market auction where they are about to sell a small clan made up mostly of women, children, and a few men. They were apparently captured in Canyon Country, and those who were not sold were killed. She wants to know what you want her to do. Do you want her to continue bounty hunting or do you want her to intervene? Naruto's blue eyes turned red with vertical slit pupils, his nails became claw-like, his canine teeth elongated, and his whisker marks thickened and darkened. His mother and father were desperately trying to calm him down from within the seal. They knew better than anyone that this was an extremely bad time and place to tap into Kyuubi's chakra, as he could only control one tael's worth. You tell her to go to the auction and bring everyone back without killing anyone. I don't care about the audience. I want the clan and everyone involved in the auction brought in. Naruto stated in hushed tones. Very well, Uzumaki-san, I'll send out a message right away. Mayuri responded. Tell her I have a few things to take care of when she returns. Naruto then exited the room. His parents are desperately trying to keep him calm as he walks down the hall towards Training Room 2, despite the fact that his features have returned to normal. Training Area 2. Outside the front door, Naruto takes several deep breaths and smiles as he walks in and stops dead. There's a fight going on. All the boys on one side and all the girls on the other, Hanabi and the boy who had asked about Akari's age wrestling on the ground in the middle of the two groups. He approaches one of the children after taking a deep breath and sighing. What exactly is going on? The little girl raises her head to look at him. Well, everything was fine until he took one of the cinnamon buns she was passing out and said that if she keeps eating sweets like these, she'll become as fat as a cow. Observing the squabbling children, Naruto's expression changes from rage to an evil grin. Hanabi now has the upper hand and has him in a headlock. Finally, the boy begs his uncle to forgive him. Hanabi rises to her feet and wipes her brow. Perhaps that'll teach you to respect a lady. Leaving the girls behind, Naruto summons Hanabi. When she arrives, he sounds the knell. I'm going to give you some advice because you're in charge and responsible enough to know better. Hanabi straightened up and nodded. You understand better than most that there is a time and place for everything, including when and how much force to use. Like using what's known as tough love to teach someone a lesson in manners or proper behavior. Hanabi nodded and smiled. One of the best methods is also a self-defense technique that most people do not employ, a crotch kick. Naruto observed Hanabi pause to think for a moment before nodding. This has been known to adults for a long time, and you're probably aware that women use it on men. Hanabi nodded and smiled. What you don't realize is that it works just as well on girls. He noticed the look of surprise on her face. You're too young to understand why it works on girls, but it does, and you'll figure it out when you're older, got it? Hanabi gave a nod.
If you need to protect yourself, another child, or teach them a lesson, your first option should be your gentle fist, and only to incapacitate them long enough to flee, or if another child so no one gets seriously hurt and needs to be healed.
But if you feel it's necessary, even against someone your age, you have my permission to kick them there, hard. His expression darkened. And I'll only say it once, if you ever try to kick Hinata, me, a teacher, or an adult who doesn't truly deserve it, you'll be a very, very sorry girl, do you understand, Hanabi? Naruto stated calmly but firmly. Hanabi immediately nodded, hoping he didn't mean kicking her there, but she didn't know, it could be anything. Even sending her back to the Hyuga clan. I understand, Naruto-san, and I promise to be responsible and worthy of your praise. You're a good girl. Naruto stood up and cleared his throat loudly to attract everyone's attention. Alright, everyone, let's get cleaned up for dinner, especially you Hanabi, take the girls. I'll take the boys. Hanabi laughed because she was dirtier than the others. Naruto chuckles as he approaches the boy who is still sitting on the ground. Lesson number 2. Never mention a woman's weight. Or a girl's weight. And lesson number 3. Never get in the way of a woman's favorite dessert. The boy simply stared at him. How many lessons do you have? There are too many to count. Naruto responds with laughter. Just before dinner. While the kids were getting cleaned up, Naruto set up a few tables in the clearing and sent a few clones out to get his village friends so he could introduce them to the new kids. When the girls discovered Fu was their big sister, Tsunami immediately went into mother mode, causing Naruto to burst out laughing. 9:03 p.m. Hanabi was doing a final check of the camp to make sure everything was picked up when the girl who had gotten in trouble in Konoha for name-calling and being a smarty pants left her tent and headed for the door. She dashed up to Smarty Pants. Can you tell me where you're going? I'm too tired to sleep, so I'm going to get some magazines to read. She replied and began to circle Hanabi. You are not permitted to leave unless you need to use the restroom. Hanabi stated unequivocally. I'm just doing what Naruto said. All I need is something to read. I'll return shortly, she continued walking after saying this. You should come to a halt. Hanabi said the command without raising her voice because she didn't want to wake anyone who was already sleeping. The girl dismissed her with a dismissive backhanded wave. Hanabi was about to tackle her when she remembered what Naruto had said and dashed in, jabbing the girl in the neck with her index and middle fingers together. She collapsed like a rag doll. Hand flipped her onto her back, grabbed her arms, and began dragging her back to her tent. Moments later, half the tent opened, and heads popped out. Hanabi came to a halt and made her best mean Hyuga face. She didn't do what I said, so I knocked her out. Is this a problem? Everyone quickly returned to their tent and sealed it. Hanabi smiled as she led the girl back to her tent and placed her inside. If you disobey me again, I won't be as nice. Hanabi walked away and zipped up her tent. 10:03 p.m. Nemu entered training room 2 and, upon finding Naruto's tent, quietly called to him until she responded. You have a message, Naruto. Naruto escaped. Thank you very much, Nemu-chan. He follows her to the lab, hoping she was able to save them, and if she did, he smiled at the prospect of finally having some test subjects. Wave Country, Mayuri's bunker, July 19, 10:03 p.m. Naruto sat at the main computer as he followed Nemu into the main lab. What is the status of the black market auction? The image of Mayuri appeared on the main screen. We have received a message. It appears that she was able to stop the auction and capture everyone involved as you requested. She is now on her way back to the base with all of the prisoners in the clan that was being sold. She also took the liberty of freeing the other slaves who were being sold, as well as collecting everything in the auction house, including a large supply of artifacts and vintage weapons. According to the catalog she discovered, the majority of them belonged to various famous ninjas and kunoichi from each of the ninja villages, some dating back to the warring clans era and the founding of the villages, and were either stolen or lost in combat. Naruto gave a nod. She also took all the money from the bidders after knocking them all out with a bust of Ryotsu. There are also tapestries and paintings, hundreds of scrolls from various areas across the elemental nations, and a large supply of jewelry and other precious metals. She discovered a dozen rogue ninjas among the audience, and according to the message, their B rank and a rank, with one S rank ninja she was forced to kill but was able to save the body in order to collect the bounty. How does she transport everything? Naruto inquired. She's transporting everything in various wagons purchased at the auction. They disguise themselves as a caravan on a pilgrimage to a new village, using the clan and other slaves as a cover. At this rate, they'll arrive tomorrow afternoon. Very good. I'm going to turn in, but I'd like to be notified as soon as they arrive. Naruto looks at Nemu. Please let me know if there are any problems with the babies. According to my clone's memories, a few of the village women are caring for them in one of the living quarters. Naruto had to suppress a chuckle in the memory of all the women gushing over the babies when his clones arrived. They'd been touring the academy and said they'd be happy to look after them until he left. Nemu gave a nod. I'll keep you informed, Naruto-kun. 10:06 p.m. As Naruto walks down the corridor leading to training room 2, he begins to consider all of the things that have been brought in. I suppose if this catalog has a list of where the items came from, I can return them, especially the weapons, and I'm sure I can use them to get good standing with the villages by returning the village treasures, and if any of the items belonging to any of the noble families that can be returned. I know this sounds petty, but it never hurts to grease the palms of the rich. As a future lord, I would do whatever was necessary to make friends with the other nobles. If any of the items cannot be returned, they will become mine and will aid in the establishment of the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans. I'm not sure why, but I have a feeling the civilian council has done something with my money that will force me to exterminate them. Naruto expressed his thoughts aloud to his parents, who both agreed with him. Naruto then hears his mother question him about what he intends to do with the slaves and the clan. "I'll see if they'll re-establish the clan here in Wave, as for the slaves, because that's illegal in Fire Country." Naruto came to a halt, took a piece of paper from his jacket pocket, and scribbled a few notes. "That merely inspired me. I may need to do some preliminary research, but I believe I can use that later." He tucked the note away. "Back to what I was saying before I got sidetracked. I would try to get them home if they have one, but if they don't, I could always welcome them into our clans as servants so I have people to watch the kids while I'm out on missions and keeping the house clean. This would shield them from politics and people attempting to harm them because anyone who attacked them would also be attacking my clan. Naruto-chan, I can't tell you how proud I am of you, and how you go out of your way to help people even when you have no idea who they are. Even after everything that has been thrown at you, it is heartening to see that you still have a gold heart and embrace the true Uzumaki spirit of always helping those in need, whether they are an ally or an enemy." Training Area 2. Naruto followed the lanterns toward the campsite, not that he needed to because he'd always had good night vision. As he approached one of the tents, he moved the flap and saw a young girl, maybe 4 or 5 years old, with long black hair, sitting on her hands and knees crying. She looked up, saw him, and began crying even harder. He approaches slowly and gets down on one knee. As soon as he's on her level, she lunges forward and hugs him tightly. "Please don't return me to the orphanage. I'm sorry. It won't happen again." She sobbed even more. Naruto wraps his arms around her and rubs her back gently. "It's all right. I'm not going to send you back to the orphanage. Now, please tell me what's wrong and why you're crying." She looks up at him, tears welling up in her eyes. "Do you swear you won't send me back?" Naruto gives a nod. "There is nothing you could have done that would have caused me to return you. I had a mishap." She said this with her head bowed. Naruto's nose twitched a moment later, revealing what had occurred. He embraced her. "That's fine. These things happen. Now get you cleaned up. Your name is Aisha, if I recall correctly." She gives a nod. Naruto quickly grabs some clean clothes from the duffel bag and rushes her down to the bathroom to clean up. As he was tucking her in again in the training room, she asked him a question. "Does that mean you're our new daddy now that you've adopted us?" she inquired. Naruto grinned. "Technically, yes, but I think it'd be better if you called me Big Brother, but don't worry, you'll have my parents back soon, and I'm sure they'll love you as much as I do." Aisha yawns, says good night Big Brother, rolls over, and promptly falls asleep. He returns to his tent and hears his mother's voice just before passing out. "Naruto-chan, you handled it very well, and I'm sure you'll make an excellent father one day," Kushina explained. Mayuri's Bunker, Training Room 2, July 20th, 6:42 a.m. Naruto was sleeping peacefully the next morning when he felt an itching on his cheek. He scratched it, but it didn't go away, so he opened his eyes to find himself surrounded by all the children. One of the kids is poking his cheek. "What exactly do you want?" He said this while burying his head beneath his pillow. They laugh. "Morning, Big Brother," a young man stated. Naruto drew his head from beneath his pillow. "I'm sure you guys." Naruto stated that he can sense weak killer intent, at least in comparison to what he is used to. "And you little princesses, of course, want breakfast." He stands up and stretches, popping his back, but he doesn't see Hanabi. He leaves his tent, thinking she must be outside, and is surprised to find her hanging upside down from a tree with a gag in her mouth. He approaches her with a smirk on his face. "How's it going, Hanabi?" She narrows her eyes at him, and because he can't hear her words through her gag, he decides to have mercy on her and removes the gag. "You little brats are going to get it when I get down," Hanabi yells. Naruto laughs at this. After calming her down, he begins preparing the stoves for breakfast, making a few clones to finish before turning to face the children. "Everyone go get cleaned up, and when you return, we can have breakfast. Hanabi, keep an eye on them, and you have my permission to exact vengeance on them." After breakfast. This causes all of the kids in charge to pale in fear, which makes him and Hanabi smile. He shifts his attention to his clones. "You, go get everyone so we can have breakfast. I'm sure the ladies who are watching the babies will be hungry. And get the teachers as well." 7:34 a.m. After an enjoyable breakfast with everyone, Rangaku had trapped his arm between her large breasts and kept rubbing them into his shoulder while also trying to rub his whiskers. What made this even funnier was that she had recruited a few of the girls to help her after they told her that if she rubbed his whiskers, she would be punished. She had no idea if it was true or not, but she was determined to find out. Rukia walked in as the last few kids finished, and when she got close, she dropped to one knee. "Uzumaki-sama, I'm here to report that our mission to Sea Country was a success." Naruto pried his arm free from Rangaku and headed for the door, passing Rukia and rubbing her hair. "Well done, Rukia-chan. Now follow me." Rukia blushed profusely, scowling at the Chan and being treated like a child, but she knew he was only teasing her and not being mean. She wouldn't tell him, but she'd had worse superiors, and she liked him. He was more laid back and playful than she'd prefer, but she also knew when it came time to get serious, he was all business and not someone to be taken lightly. Naruto entered a room he'd converted into an office and took a seat behind his desk. "Please take a seat. I'm glad you arrived safely, Rukia. Please send me your report." "Very well, Uzumaki-sama," Rukia said. Naruto stopped her with his hand. "Please address me as Naruto. I'm not one for formalities among friends." "I can do that." When we arrived, we came across a small village that was in disrepair and began asking around about a strange creature, but people were reluctant to tell us anything. Because no one in the village was willing to assist us, we began our search at the beach, where we came across a group of boys attacking a young girl wearing bandages. Rukia had to pause her report for a moment as memories of the Rukon district surfaced. After exhaling a small breath, she resumed her report. After chasing the boys away, we checked on the girl, who was now unconscious. We could tell there was something wrong because she had fish scales hidden beneath the bandages. After a while, she regained consciousness and we learned her name was Isaribi. When we mentioned the scales, she became hesitant to tell us anything, even attempting to flee. Rukia stated. Naruto nodded, a scowl on his face. Due to malnutrition and injuries, she was unable to run very far. Once we were able to stabilize her again, she told us that she had been stung by jellyfish, which caused the scales. We could tell she was lying, and we eventually got her to tell us that a scientist named Amachi was helping to cure her. When we asked her to take us to see the scientist, she didn't want to do it at first, but when we said we needed to speak to him, she took us to Jiro Island, and not even an hour later we learned that he was in fact a mad scientist doing experiments, trying to give people the ability to breathe underwater. He was using the girl to attack ships in order to gather more test subjects and supplies. She could transform into a fish-like girl, and after a brief fight with him, he transformed into a fishman and attempted to summon a giant water creature, but he was no match for my Zanpakuto. I'm sorry to report that he was killed in the attack and the base was destroyed. However, we were able to bring back Isaribi, who is suffering from severe depression after discovering that the man she admired was using her as a guinea pig and had no intention of curing her. She is currently sleeping in the medical wing. Naruto gave a nod. Thank you for your report. I'll expect a written report from all of you later today. Speaking of which, where are Shunsui and Jashiro? They stayed in Sea Country to see if they could find anything in the base's wreckage, and they'll return when they're done. Rukia responded. Very good, you're off duty for the day. Naruto stated. Training Ground 2, 7:40 a.m. As Naruto entered, all the children approached him, asking if they could go to the nearby village to get supplies. He was initially hesitant, but after hearing the women were going anyway, he caved. Alright, you can go, but you must behave. He sighed when the children didn't move. What do you desire? Well, we were hoping to get an allowance so we could buy some things for ourselves, said an older girl. I suppose I can make a small allowance for you. Naruto walked over to one of the tables, took a scroll from his pocket, opened one of the 10 small stacks of mostly bank-bound bills, and began handing out allowances from the loose money. Some of the younger children complained that the older children receive more money. They're older and more mature enough to have a little more money, and you'll get a bigger allowance as you get older. As Naruto turned around to hand out more money, he noticed Rangaku and Momo standing there with innocent smiles. Could we please have a small allowance, Naruto-kun? Rangaku said, loosening her kimono vest and exposing some cleavage. Naruto hands over some money with a red face, while in the back of his mind, unheard by his parents, he thinks. Man, those things are huge, and she rubbed them on my arm, so I know they're soft. He returned to the table to put the money away after giving some money to the women so they could buy the supplies they needed plus a little extra for themselves, which earned him a kiss from each of them. When he turned around, he saw a black cat bounding out the door, holding it in its mouth. Yoruichi, you could have just asked me for it. He was ecstatic. You know, that woman is insane. He muttered under his breath as he scratched the back of his neck. Naruto hears his father's voice. For Kami's sake, he got your tick. His mother then laughed and scratched the back of her head. The primary laboratory. After that is completed and everyone has left, he returns to the main lab computer to see if he can find anything interesting on it. Okay, Mayuri, tell me everything you know about this dimension's bloodlines and Kekkei Genkai. Hundreds of files and images appear on the screen next to his picture. This was my most intriguing project in your dimension. Through my research, I was able to theorize that these are nothing more than mutations in the genes of a human body, that by activating certain genes and deactivating certain genes and combining them together in the body, they were able to create the abilities. It was also aided by the environment in which they lived and the elements to which they are best suited. When Naruto had an idea, he sat back in his chair to absorb the information he had just received and let it settle into his brain. Could you tell me if you have any information on the Hyuga? Except for one, all files were closed. They were originally from cave country near Rain, and after centuries of living in caves, they developed a second lens over their eyes, allowing them to see through walls and in the dark. This allowed them to develop the fighting style that they use today and eventually become a ninja clan when they discovered that they could disrupt the chakra network, which was a fascinating ability to study. You mentioned activating and deactivating genes. Are you saying you can create chemical compounds to deactivate the bloodline or activate a specific bloodline in anyone who would not normally have the bloodlines? I'm starting to think you're underestimating my superior genius, Uzumaki. Activating genes in the human body would be child's play for me because I've already cataloged all the necessary data. I could easily take a group of people and turn them into clones of another clan by giving them the same bloodline. It would take some time for them to learn about the abilities and how to use them, but it was doable. 10:55 a.m. Nemu walked into the lab and knew from the lab and Naruto's posture that he had been sitting there for several hours. Naruto swiveled in his chair. "Can I help you, Nemu-chan?" Soifin just sent a message. "They're about 10 minutes away from the bridge," says the narrator. Naruto got to his feet quickly, ignoring the soft popping of his knees and back, as well as Nemu's smirk. "Thank you for informing me, Nemu-chan. I'll see them. I'd like you to go to the medical wing and inform Unohana that she might be getting some new patients soon." "Never mind, I'll inform her myself. What I need you to do is prepare the living quarters. We're going to need them." Turning back to the main computer, he types on it, activating the regeneration machine. Seconds later, the door opens, and Izan Kotetsu steps out. Izan looks around before spotting Naruto and giving him a small bow. "How may I assist you?" "A large group of people is about to arrive, and I want you and Unohana to be prepared to give them all a medical exam. If you would please follow me, I'll escort you to the medical wing." Wave entrance, Great Naruto Bridge, 11:18 a.m. Naruto is standing at the bridge's entrance, watching as the wagons arrive, and after the last wagon arrives, he is approached by Soifin and two other women. "Uzumaki-sama, please allow me to introduce Fumi, the head of the Asushepa clan, and her daughter Hisa," Soifin stated. Naruto turned to face the two ladies. "It's a pleasure to meet both of you." He noticed that both of them are staring at him, almost in awe, as is a large crowd behind them. But why? Fumi approached Naruto, knelt, and took both of his hands in hers. "Could you please tell me? Are you really an Uzumaki?" "Yes, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, the Crown Prince of Whirlpool Country, the son of Princess Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze, and the head of the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans." Within seconds, a large crowd was on their hands and knees in front of him. Fumi, who was lying on the ground, looked up at him with tears in her eyes. "Please accept our deepest apologies, Lord Uzumaki. After Whirlpool was destroyed, we failed your family and returned to our homeland believing that your clan had been destroyed. Our family swore allegiance to your clan. Had we known of your existence, we would have immediately come to your aid. For 30 years now we have prayed for a sign of an Uzumaki so we can serve that family once more. Please accept us back into your grace and I swear we will serve you well, but if you wish you may punish us for our failure to protect your family and not seeking out any of your family in the Leaf Village as we should have. It should have been obvious." With that, they all put their heads on the ground and waited for his response. Naruto was lost in thought as his mother told him about the clan from her childhood memories in Whirlpool, how they were once very loyal to the Uzumaki clan, and how she herself thought the clan had been wiped out and had never sought out any of them herself. Naruto straightened up, remembering how to act like a noble from his clones. Fumi Asushepa clan leader. I, Naruto Uzumaki, head of the Uzumaki clan, hereby absolve your clan of all previous incidents and welcome you back into the Uzumaki clan's service. From now on, you will establish your clan in this village, assisting it in getting off the ground and eventually becoming a great ninja village. Fumi and her family rise and bow to Naruto. We will do our very best, Lord Uzumaki, to help this village as you have instructed us, using the teaching that we were given in Whirlpool. Naruto and Soifin approached a small group of 8 people. Uzumaki-sama, these are the people I was able to save who chose to join this village. Soifin stated. Let me be the first to greet you and welcome you to Wave Country. If you haven't already guessed, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I'm a Hidden Leaf Village shinobi. I understand that being forced from your homes and taken captive has been a terrible tragedy for you all. If you have nowhere to go and no one to turn to, I will accept you into my family. If you do not wish to become a member of my family, I will assist you in any way I can. Naruto stated. One of the men took a step forward. What do you want in return for this? I recently discovered my family. I had spent my entire life believing I was an orphan with no name. Once I discovered this, one of the first things I did was claim both of my titles, then adopt every orphan from the orphanage, but I'm only one person and an active shinobi, which means I will be going on missions. What I am asking of you is that you become servants to my clan, not slaves. Basically, I need you to watch the children while I go on missions and keep the grounds of my compound clean in exchange for a home and a steady income. You don't have to make a decision right away. You have plenty of time to consider it, and the option will always be available to you. Naruto stated. Everyone agrees with a nod. Thank you. We'll consider it. Naruto looks at Soifun. Where are the detainees? He approached one of the wagons, moved the tapestry over the back, and looked inside to find at least a dozen people bound and gagged, all of them unconscious. He turns to face Soifun. How much time have they been gone? It was at the auction base that I gave them a sedative they were using to keep the slaves asleep during transport. I also have the cure. Soifun stated. How about those rogue ninjas you captured? Naruto inquired. I've already taken them to one of the bounty houses we passed through and collected the bounties. It appears one of them had an extra large bounty on his head if I brought him in alive. Soifun responded. Naruto turns around to face the crowd. If everyone will follow me, I'll show you where you'll be staying until we can get you settled in. I've got a doctor waiting to give you all a physical so we can see if there's anything we need to be concerned about. As Naruto begins to lead them back to the academy, he speaks to Fumi about his time in the Leaf Village and how he is assisting this village in establishing their own ninja program. He barely hears her whisper to herself, typical Uzumaki's. 10:30 p.m., an empty room. Naruto decided to do this in one of the empty living quarters so he wouldn't be disturbed. He sits down, relaxes, and enters his Mindscape. He walks into the sewer-like room and is immediately embraced by his mother. Naruto-chan. Kushina exclaimed happily as she tightly hugged her son. Until he was replaced by his temporarily confused father. With a cute pout, she lunges at Naruto and tries to capture him again. This went on for several minutes, much to the delight of his father, who was taking mental notes despite his laughter, as this had the potential for actual use, similar to his battle strategy with the Hiraishin Jutsu. Naruto is looking at his mom, who is still pouting cutely, after being chased around the room for who knows how long in actual time. Don't worry, Mom. I'm here to discuss how we're going to get you out, and then you can go chase your grandkids all you want. This appears to please her. Approximately 20 minutes later, Mindscape time. What about the puppets used in Suna? Naruto inquires. Minato rubs his chin briefly. That could actually work. We'd have to use seals to strengthen them, which we could easily do. The only problem is that Suna is very protective of their puppets, and we won't be able to build them unless Mayuri was able to get scans of them. If I recall correctly, they recently introduced a new type of mannequin. They're used in hospitals to teach people how to perform surgery. They're supposed to be lifelike, with fake organs and blood vessels. Both of his parents sit back and discuss the various seals that would have to be placed on them. Naruto turns his attention to the nine-tailed fox. If you want, we can take your consciousness and put it in a vessel so you don't have to stay in this sewer room. And why would I want to help a mere mortal like you? I am the Lord of the Biju and the King of all demons. I would never help a human. You and your race mean nothing to me, and once I'm free of this infernal seal, I'll annihilate you. And then I'll annihilate your worthless village. Kyuubi burst out laughing. That's enough, Kurama. The room begins to shake. A powerful voice screams. A white-clad figure appeared in the middle of the room with a bright flash of white light. Naruto and his parents have no idea who this is, but they hear a respectful word almost whispered from within the cage. Father. Naruto's Mindscape, Wave Country Academy, July 20th 10:30 p.m. Naruto and his parents examine the tall, pale-skinned man with deep wrinkles, a strong jawline, and spiky, shoulder-length pale brown hair with a chin-length braided lock hanging in front of his left ear. He also had a goatee, two horn-like protrusions on either side of his forehead, and pupil-less white eyes. He wore a white full-length kimono with a pattern of 6 black magatama around a high collar, underneath which he wore a necklace also made of 6 black magatama. A larger, black marking of 9 magatama arranged in 3 rows of 3 beneath it adorned the back of his kimono. He held a black staff with a large white crescent moon at the top in his left hand. As he entered the cage, he looked up at the 9 tails. I am disappointed in you, Kurama, he said before striking his staff on the ground, causing the darkness to vanish and revealing the full form of the 9 tails. The fox hanging his head in shame surprised Naruto, Minato, and Kushina. Minato took a step forward. Please excuse me, but who are you and how did you end up here? The white figure turned around and chuckled quietly. I suppose I should introduce myself. My name is Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Their expressions told him they didn't recognize him. But you might know me by my titles, the Rakudu Sanin or Sage of 6 Paths. I'm also known as the first god of shinobi as I created ninjutsu. Minato was taken aback when he realized who they were in front of. Looking to his right he saw his wife and Naruto were clearly confused, and heard his wife whisper, "Don't ask me, I was never good at history in the academy," to Naruto. I sincerely apologize for my wife and son, he stated respectfully. Hagoromo laughed briefly, much to their surprise. Don't worry, Minato. The Uzumaki clan has never been the sharpest of people, unless it involves ramen or fuinjutsu, which they learned from my son Asura. Oh. You want to come say that to my face, old man? Screamed Kushina and Naruto, both of whom were whacked on the head with his staff and sent to the ground holding their heads before either could react. Hagoromo sighed softly in disappointment. Perhaps that will finally get you some respect through your thick Uzumaki skulls, though I doubt it because your family has never been one for respect. I apologize, Lord Hagoromo, Minato said, clearly embarrassed. Hagoromo simply waves it away. I've dealt with their kind for generations, so I'm used to it. They're nowhere near as bad as Mito Uzumaki, who was more stubborn than a herd of bulls in her youth. We'll get to the family history in a moment, but first I need to discipline another child. So do you want to explain to me why you've ignored everything I tried to instill in you, Kurama? Kurama bowed his head in shame. It's not as easy as you think, father. Humans have been treating me like a mindless beast for years. They kept me in a cage and demanded I give them my power, never once asking me how I felt about it, and every time I get free, somebody takes control of my mind and I'm forced to do their bidding, only to be locked in another cage. Right now, there are 2 of them. The younger one has not demanded I give him my power yet, but Naruto approached Hagoromo and gave a small bow. I apologize for never once acknowledging you for helping me, but for the first 12 years of my life, I didn't even know you were inside of me, and the 2 times that I did use your powers, I was incredibly angry and unaware of what I was doing. I also want to thank you for all the times you healed me as a child, and I want you to know that I would never demand that you give me your power. I want to get to where I am going on my own power, not rely on. Hagoromo gave Naruto a respectful look before returning his gaze to Kurama. I believe you are mistaken about this boy. He appears to be nothing like what you're describing. As a woman, an elite kunoichi, and especially as the daughter of the Uzumaki clan head, Kushina felt emotionally as if Naruto had just kicked her in the pussy, but she was able to hide her emotions so it didn't show on her face that he'd humbled her. She despised the mere thought of it. She could take a beating that would kill anyone else and keep fighting as an Uzumaki, but that was her only true weakness, both physically and emotionally. Perhaps you're correct, father, but he's still young and could change, Kurama observed. Naruto sat up straight. That would never happen. I have a secret dream that I've never told anyone, a dream that one day there will be a generation of children who live in a nation that no longer needs ninja and they'll be nothing more than stories told to children about a long time ago, so I will fight with everything I have to see my dream come true, he said proudly. Minato and Kushina both looked at Naruto with pride in their son. Naruto felt Hagoromo's hand on his shoulder. I can tell you have a greater destiny than I can imagine, he said, transforming the simple table into a grand table with a wave of his hand. Now I'm going to give you a little history lesson, but I can't tell you everything right now, he said as they sat down. They sat for what seemed like hours, learning about the 10-tailed beast, how he sealed it inside himself to become the first Jinchuriki, how he used his yin-yang release to create the tailed beasts, and finishing with a little history on his sons. Hagoromo took a step forward. That is all I can tell you for now. My time is running out and I must return to my dimension to regain my power, but before I go, I'm leaving 3 gifts, so please come stand before me, Naruto, he said as he stepped away from the table. When Hagoromo touched his staff to Naruto's stomach, everyone felt a surge of power. With a small flash, a silver necklace appeared around Naruto's neck with the Uzumaki family crest. Naruto lowered his gaze to the necklace. What exactly is this? He inquired as his parents approached and examined the necklace. I removed the seal that Orochimaru placed on you in the Forest of Death because it was interfering with your chakra control and cutting off a portion of your chakra, even though the seal was already cracked due to you messing around in this laboratory and having that chemical compound injected into you to boost your spiritual powers. That necklace now serves as a limiter, similar to what the captains and lieutenants of Soul Society wear when they travel to what they call the world of the living. It reduces your chakra and spiritual power by 80%, Hagoromo responded. Wait, you've heard of the Soul Society? Naruto inquired. Hagoromo gave a nod, yes. I have been there many times and too many other places. Now to my second gift I'm going to give you. He touches his staff to Naruto's forehead, they feel another surge of power, and he removes his staff. I have just given you the knowledge of your clan in the art of Fuinjutsu along with some of my own knowledge. He looks at Kurama. I believe that this is the boy I mentioned who will one day make a significant difference in the world. I have to leave now, but we will meet again. He then fades away, he said. Well, that was interesting, Naruto says to his parents, who nod. He then turns to Kurama, saying, I hope that one day we can be partners. I mean, we're stuck with each other anyway, so why should we hate each other? The only response he got was a puff of air from the fox laying down and closing its eyes. I'll consider it, Kurama said. Naruto returned his attention to his parents. I'm going to bed for the night. Hey, that old man promised to give me 3 gifts, but only gave me 2, his parents laughed, and he heard Kurama chuckle as he faded away. The real world. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw what was laying on the floor in front of him. His parents' bodies in perfect condition, with a piece of paper on his father's chest. Picking up the paper, Naruto reads the note. Beginning note. Mr. Naruto Uzumaki. You probably freaked out when I left because I didn't give you your third gift, so here it is. I used my yin-yang release, creation of all things. Technique to remake your parents' bodies so you could put their souls in them, allowing you to have a better relationship with your parents. Hagoromo Otsutsuki signed. P.S. If Kurama causes you any trouble and is unwilling to assist you, I recommend you go find his younger sister Matabi the two-tailed cat, who has always had a way of scaring him into doing what she wants. Note at the end. Well, I guess that solves one problem. His parents agree, then Naruto grins. So the big bad Kurama is afraid of a little pussycat. Suddenly, he can hear Kurama ranting about how he is not afraid of a stupid cat. I'll be sure to tell her you said that. Unseen by Naruto, Kurama was horrified. Kumo Sushi Restaurant serves catch of the day sushi. The Kunoichi Jonin known as Yugito Ni is sitting at the Cloud Village's bar, enjoying a large plate of her favorite dish, when she suddenly hears a sneeze inside her head. Are you okay, Matabi? I'm fine, kitten. Go back to your food, Matabi responded before thinking to herself, I don't know why, but I think I'm about to get a bigger headache than I've had in a long time because of my idiotic brother Kurama Baka. Training Ground, Wave Country Academy 2. Naruto returns to Training Ground 2 after checking on the kids and making sure they were asleep. He was only in his bed about 2 minutes when he hears a tiny voice outside his tent asking if he's awake and sits up. Yes, come in, Aisha says, her onyx eyes showing her fear, her long black hair in a ponytail, and she's holding a stuffed crow she bought with her allowance. What's the matter, Aisha? Naruto inquired. Aisha looks down while hugging the stuffed crow. Ka had a nightmare, big brother, and he was wondering if we could stay in here with you tonight? You can both stay here tonight, Naruto says with a smile. Aisha climbs into the bed, snuggles up next to his chest, and quickly falls back to sleep. Naruto-chan, I can't get this feeling out of my head, but I think I know this girl, she looks really familiar to me, I just can't place her, Kushina said. You know Mom, I'm with you on that.
She does look familiar to me as well, but I'm sure we'll figure it out eventually, Naruto responded.
21st of July, 6:56 a.m. Naruto awoke to find Aisha sleeping on his chest, drool in the corner of her mouth. He gently rubs her shoulder to wake her up, and she sits up a few moments later. I know it's early, princess, but we need to get up and make breakfast. Okay, big brother, I'm starving, Aisha says, brightly waking up. So, let's see if I can solve that problem by making breakfast for everyone. Ka probably wants blueberry pancakes with syrup, and I'm sure you want a big plate of bugs. I want the pancakes, and Ka can have the bugs, Aisha says with a green face. Naruto nods and laughs. As they walk out of the tent, they notice that everyone has already gotten up and that the breakfast buffet has been set up and is being served. Here, big brother, you hold Ka, I'm going to get my breakfast, Aisha said as she thrust the crow into his arms and quickly runs over to a line to get pancakes. Naruto walks over and notices a woman feeding babies and toddlers at one of the tables, and one of the babies is fussy and crying, is everything fine, and do you require anything? He recognizes the woman feeding the baby as a member of Tsunami's book club. Everything is fine, she's just teething, she says, blushing slightly. Here, let her chew on this, it will help with her teething, Naruto says as he grabs an apple from a nearby table, pulls out a kunai, and cuts a slice out of it before handing it to the woman. She stops crying as soon as she puts the apple slice in her mouth and begins to suck on it. As Naruto walks away from the table, he can hear the women whispering about how he'll make a great husband one day, but before he can even start making his own plate, he is approached by Fumi. Fumi makes a small bow and says, "Good morning, Lord Uzumaki." Before she could say anything else, Naruto stopped her. "Please just call me Naruto," he said. Fumi sighs and shakes her head. "I can't do it because you're the Lord of Whirlpool Country. Please forgive me, but even if I had to, I couldn't call you anything else." Naruto sighed, defeated. "So, what did you want to discuss with me?" "You see, before Whirlpool was destroyed, a marriage contract was made between our clans, the first male heir to the throne and the first female heir to my clan. Technically, the contract was never officially fulfilled, and I was wondering if you would like to marry my daughter to fulfill it." "That does sound familiar," Kushina explained. A moment later, he hears her say, "Uh-oh," and covers his face with his hand. "Mom, what is it now?" "Well, you see, Naruto-chan, I might have sort of made a marriage contract between you and Hana-chan on the night I discovered I was pregnant with you while I was drunk with her mom," Kushina responds nervously. Technically, he was lord of the Uzumaki clan, and she couldn't refuse any order he gave her. Being his mother meant nothing, she was just one of his kunoichi legally, and there was no restriction to what he could do to. Minato cast a glance at his wife, and despite the fact that he couldn't see her face and was amused by what he'd just learned, he'd swear she was scared of Naruto. He chuckled quietly and shook that ridiculous thought off. Kushina Uzumaki wasn't afraid of anyone. Naruto finally snaps, looks up at the sky, and begins shouting, having had enough of everything crashing around him. "That's all there is to it. I've had enough. Fuck you, Kami. You can't even give me a single day of peace, can you?" "No, Fox was implanted in me on the first day of my life. Then I had 12 years of living hell with barely any friends, and when I finally get a C rank mission, it turns into an A rank mission that nearly killed me twice while I was saving a country from a pint-sized midget who thought he was king. What happens when I get a chance to advance in rank? I get eaten by a giant fucking snake and have to fight a cage-level freak, and then I get abandoned by my teacher, insulted by my teammate, end up finding a secret lab made by some mad scientist from another dimension, discover my parents are a clan princess from another country and the former Hokage of my village, and have to rebuild 2 clans. You're now hurling marriage contracts at me." Everyone in the room was stunned as Naruto ranting, with the women covering the children's ears so they couldn't hear what he was saying. "So why don't you just open a big black hole and take your best shot at me? I'm done with your shit." Naruto screamed almost in rage, then looked down and took a deep breath, missing a giant black hole opening above him, but everyone else in the room saw it. Yoruichi called out his name, lifting his head and looking to his right. He said it vehemently, and the only response he got was everyone pointing above him. Cursing his luck, he looked up and saw the massive black hole, and the only thought that came to mind was, "Fuck me sideways." Suddenly, everyone in the room starts screaming, and a small gray object falls out of the hole and hits Naruto on the head, knocking both of them to the ground. The hole closes and disappears seconds later. Aisha raises both of her hands in the air. "Let it rain ice cream now." She screams, hoping for the best. Fu exclaims, "No," and dives beneath a table while the rest of the kids look up at the sky and see nothing. "It's not fair. Big brother got his wish," Aisha says, crossing her arms and pouting cutely despite her best efforts. "Never ask for anything if you don't really want it," Naruto says, rubbing his head. Looking down at the gray bundle of clothes, he hears soft crying coming from it. Lifting it up, the bundle falls open, shocking everyone when they learn that it's a little girl with green hair and a goat-like mask on her head with a crack in it, with a red line across her cheeks and nose that reminds him of Iruka. "Owie. You have a very hard head," she stated. Naruto stood up, walked over to Rangaku, handed her the child, then turned around and headed back to his tent, which Aisha inquired about. "You were correct, it's too early for this nonsense." "I'm going to bed now," he responded before disappearing into his tent, and his remark caused everyone in the room to burst out laughing. 9:12 a.m. Naruto left his tent, feeling a little better because of all the children playing, but frowns when he sees Aisha being teased by two of the boys playing keep away with her stuffed crow, and quickly walks over as his remaining rage began to boil again. That's all there is to it. You both go sit at the table until you're told to move. With a little killer intent accidentally slipping out, the boys ran to the table and sat down, terrified. How about you spend the day with your big brother? Naruto asks, getting a nod from one of the women still in the room, on her way to stop the teasing. Those two boys are going to sit there for the next 15 minutes, then they can get up. She nods, I'll make sure it gets done and that they don't pick on anyone else. Naruto noticed Nemu waiting as he walked out of a training room. What became of the little girl who emerged from the black hole? She was transported to the medical wing, Nemu explained. She's an Arrancar class hollow, according to my memories from the download, isn't she? I want you to go to the living quarters I visited last night, pick up the two bodies, and bring them back to the main lab, Naruto asked, and Nemu nodded. I'll go to the medical wing to check on Hinata-chan and this girl, and hopefully find out why she's here. Nemu gives a nod. I'll take care of it, Naruto-kun. The medical wing opens at 9:15 a.m. While we're in here, you need to behave and keep quiet, people are resting, so no running around, Naruto says as he stands at the door. Yes, big brother, I get it, Aisha said. Naruto walks in and notices Hinata sitting up in her bed, talking to Hanabi. He walks over and clears his throat to get their attention, and Hinata turns red. Hinata-chan, how are you feeling? Don't worry, you're going to be fine, Hinata says as he sits on her bed. He returns her hug. I'm guessing she told you everything that's going on. They nod, then he feels a small tag on his shirt. Naruto chuckles and picks her up. Hinata-chan, I'd like to introduce you to your new little sister, he says. Hinata's only thought at the time was, she is so kawaii. Hello big sister. My name is Aisha Uzumaki, and this is Ka, Aisha said as she held up the stuffed crow. It's nice to meet you, Aisha, Hinata said quietly. Naruto sat Aisha next to him. Would you mind watching her while I go talk to the doctor? The former Hyuga heiresses nod. Naruto returns to hear Aisha tell the story of what happened this morning. Both of them look at Naruto with amusement. Hinata was giggling. Naruto drops his head, this only makes her laugh louder. Yeah, just laugh it up. You're not the one who has to put up with all of this, come on Aisha, since the rest of the patients are asleep, we'll come back and visit you later Hinata-chan, Aisha says as they walk away. Naruto has to listen to his mother sing her stupid song about him and Hinata sitting in a tree and kissing as he walks down the hallway towards the main lab, but she spelled kissing as part of the song. Naruto cut the connection halfway down the hallway with a red face. He was relieved that his father was quiet and respectful, but it was because Minato was standing next to her, red-faced from suppressing his laughter. As he entered the main lab, he noticed his parents' new bodies on two tables off to the left side next to a large machine, and as he made his way over to the tables where Nemu was standing, she turned to him. I have the machine ready, Naruto-kun, if you would just sit in this chair, we can extract your parents' souls, Nemu said. Naruto sat down, and she started connecting him to the machine. He noticed Aisha was terrified. Don't worry, I'll be fine, Naruto said, despite the fact that he felt like he was being sucked through a vacuum cleaner. Soon, both of his parents begin to move and then sit up. Minato and Kushina are staring at Naruto and Aisha. Kushina flew off the table and hugged both children with a high-pitched giggle the moment her brain realized she was no longer in the seal. Naruto-chan, Aisha-chan, it's so good to finally see both of you. Fortunately, she didn't squeeze them too tightly before releasing the hug. Can you tell me who you are? Aisha inquired. Kushina took a step back and struck a pose. I am the one and only Kushina Uzumaki, but from now on you will refer to me as Grandma Kushina. She exclaimed happily, hands on her hips and sticking out her ample chest, which didn't appear as large as it was due to her of dress and snug kunoichi bra. Though she was proud of her abundant endowments, they bounced too much and threw off her balance as a kunoichi when moving and fighting. While this was going on, Minato was thinking and hanging his head in shame. And she gets mad when Jiraiya sensei does that. He comes to when he sees his wife on her knees in front of the little girl, and after inspecting her, he decides to have a word with his son. He walks over to Naruto and shakes his hand. Both of them look over at the women as they hear Naruto giggling to his father. Isn't she going to spoil them rotten? Minato grins. My son, it's not even a question. I knew she looked familiar. Exclaims Kushina. Both men approach to see what is going on. What's up, Mom? What happened? Naruto inquired. Kushina stood up and faced them, holding a piece of paper. When I was checking on her, I noticed she had this little locket around her neck. She said she'd had it since the day she was abandoned at the orphanage, but she didn't know how to open it. When I looked at it, I noticed it had a chakra lock on it. Opening it was simple enough, and this is what I found inside. Beginning note. My precious little princess. Let me start by saying that I never wanted to leave you at the orphanage, but I had no choice because you were my most precious treasure. Let me introduce myself. My name is Itachi Uchiha, and I am your father. Note at the end.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.